let's look at the NBA draft as we go to transition to the NBA. Draft was interesting. This draft had some blue chip guys, according to the experts, but not no surefire, franchise cornerstone guy. But let's look at the first round real quick. Orlando took the kid from Duke, Paolo Bracho. I think that's how you pronounce it. I hope so. If not, I'm sorry. I'm really bad at names, period. I got a plain name, Troy West. So, Chet Holmgren from Gonzaga. That's a controversial pick. Some people said Jabari Smith Jr. went third. They said he should have been number one. Keenan Murray from Iowa went to the Kings at 4. It was a lot of Jalen's, man. That was weird. Jalen Ivey from Purdue, the point guard. Detroit, they said the Pistons did very, very well with their picks. Bigoted, Marvin from Arizona, he went 6th to Indiana. Sheldon Sharp, shooting guard from Kentucky, went 7th to Portland. That's probably to replace CJ McCollum. They traded him. Spurs took Jeremy Sholin from Baylor, and the 10th pick, the Wizards took Johnny Davis. But if you want to see the rest of the list, you can go look at it. As far as teams, they said they did very, very well was Detroit. Like, I kept hearing Detroit. What the Knicks was doing though, now I was watching the ESPN broadcast, the ABC broadcast. You know they got Stephen A on there, and he's a Knicks fan. And they kept trading, like a lot of their picks. They made the pick, but then it's supposed to go to another team. They made picks for other picks, or they did a lot. They just did a lot of, I don't know. But they did trade Kemba Walker, which not surprising because they just flat out benched Kemba last year. I think they sent him to Detroit, right? Let me check that. Yep, in a 3-team trade. So he went to Detroit. So the Pistons doing a little thing. They already got some young guys here. Matter of fact, we're gonna look at that roster real quick. But yeah, it was a 3-team trade. So he goes to Detroit. Charlotte was so Charlotte gets Jalen Duren, the guy they took. So they sent him to Charlotte and brought Kemba to Detroit, I guess, to replace that. And then the Knicks, I guess, got some picks. Yeah, so they made it was a lot of weird trades during the draft. But they said, Detroit did the best out of everyone. But yeah, go check out the rest of the standings. I'm not really into college basketball, so I don't know a lot of these guys. I just heard Jabari Smith Jr. I heard he's going to be great. And the kid from Gonzaga, he's like a wild card. He's tall, can shoot. But they wondering, is he going to last in the NBA? Can he adjust to the physicality of the NBA? Even though NBA, like, physicality, that's loose because it ain't as physical as it was coming up. And we were going to talk about that when I do my top 10 list, which is coming. But like I said, NBA did right after this. I think next week, free agency, right around 4th of July. So we'll have some more to talk about with that. But let's look at the Pistons roster real quick. So let's go to the Detroit Pistons page. So I want to see their current roster. Okay. Yeah, the Pistons was 23-59 last year, so basically the bottom of the Eastern Conference. But they got that young kid that they like. Excuse me, pardon me. Let's see. Pulling up their roster on their page. Yeah, Cade Cunningham. I couldn't think of the kid's name. They drafted him last year. They've had a good season despite the record. And now they drafted these guys. So Kemba not officially still on here yet, because all these trades are they're not proposed. I mean, they going to be finalized, but they ain't going to be finalized until free agency starts. So I'm looking at their roster now. So this roster is not 100% accurate because Kemba haven't been added yet. So next week it'll be a lot to talk about. We'll probably talk about that next week. Because I think free agency starts. It'll probably be after 4th of July. So I'll come up with some type of NBA topic. But this is what everybody been waiting for. Top 10 list of all time. Now, already, like I said, I did a top 5 already because I just wanted to. I actually posted that on Instagram, and I talked about it on here. But everybody was doing a top 10 list because when the Warriors won the championship, they was debating should Steph Curry be a top 10 player. And I watch a lot of sports shows in the morning, like First Take. I watch clips of that. I watch clips of Undisputed with Skip Bayless and Shannon Sharp. Shannon Sharp says that Steph is in his top 10 for winning this title. I could understand it. In fact, let's get the honorable mentions out the way. Now, Steph is not in my top 10, so I'm gonna go ahead and put that out there. But I think if he wins another title, he's gonna have a big case. He pretty much changed the game almost by itself. Him and Klay Thompson as well. 2-time MVP, 1-time unanimous. He got a lot of finally was the Finals MVP. But just the impact he had on the game matters as well. And then if you got 5 rings, championships matter as well. So he will have a good case, but he's not. I didn't put him in my top 10. The one person that I'm feeling bad because I'm a fan of this player. I was in the 90s. I thought he was the best in basketball, but he only got 2 championships, and that's Hakeem Olajuwon. Hakeem Olajuwon to me was the most skilled center I've ever seen. Watching him play, especially when they had their 2-year run now. That's why I really, as a fan, I really would have liked to see if Jordan would have retired. Would the Bulls, the Bulls would have, I think especially that first year he retired, they would have made it. Because I think they would have beat the Knicks. I think he was in the Knicks' head. Because the Knicks played in the first finals that the Rockets won. In the second finals, it was Orlando. Now that Orlando team maybe could have pushed the Bulls, but I think if Mike would have never left, I think the Bulls would have still had that mentality. So assuming the Bulls would have made it, and assuming the Rockets would have made it too, because the Rockets the second year they was the 6th seed in the West, but they still came out of it and won the title. So, I would have liked to see those 2 teams play, but I still think the Bulls would have won the series because. Now, King would have destroyed them, but I don't think they would have had nobody to check Mike either. So I think Mike would have probably scored 40 points a game in that series. I think Scottie Pippen would have been the X factor because I think he could have guarded on anybody. I think Houston, other than Hakeem, didn't have no consistent score. Like Kenny Smith and Fred Bassett was basically 3-point guys. So, the 3-point wasn't as prevalent as it is today. Yeah, he had no other real score. Sam Cassell would have had to be a scorer because I forgot that he was on that team too, and he was a big factor why they won those 2 titles as well because he made some huge shots. But Hakeem, he was my man, so he ain't in it, but I wanted to put him in there just because I'm a fan of his. But the people that's in here, I think they deserve to be in for sure. But if he'd have won more titles, if he'd have had like 3 or 4, I would have put him in there. I would have put him over with somebody, and I'm gonna let you know who once we get through this list. Who else I think maybe be considered? Those are 2 right there. So I think Steph does have a case. I think Hakeem has a case. Other than that, I think everybody else, I think they still have like current players, like people saying Giannis, he still got a career to go. Kevin Durant as well. He got to do a little bit more. They current players that can actually crack that one day. Kawhi, to me, I heard people say Kawhi. I say the list with Kawhi is already in the top 20. Now, I haven't went as far as 10. And Kawhi might make my top. He's too, like I said, he's been, well, lately for sure, he haven't played. So, but the title he got in Toronto, I don't take that away from him at all. The San Antonio title, he had a big factor in that, but he wasn't Kawhi yet. I just think something missing with him, in my opinion. Not saying that's why he should be in the top 10, but I think he got to do a lot more because some people try to give him this best player thing. People say he was the best player in the NBA. the rival LeBron and everybody. I was like, no, I mean, you can't say that yet. I mean, yeah, he just won the title and he plays both sides of the ball. I think that's why he's very talented, but the rings matter, the accolades matter. So he got no MVPs, I don't think so. I was like, nah, that's too high. I don't even know if he'd be in my top 20, honestly. But Giannis have a chance if he keep going the way he's going. Kevin Durant, talent-wise, like I said, talent-wise, he's one of the best to ever do it for sure. But it's the accolades. You gotta add the accolades to it. If you just going off talent, you know, that's a whole different list. You know, but that's just some honorable mentions. Honestly, Allen Iverson to me deserves a lot of credit, or credit as well. Just what he done at his size. Tracy McGrady, some people brought Tracy McGrady up for his injuries. Him and Grant Hill, to me, are similar. They was probably very talented players, but their injuries they couldn't shake their injuries, and it took them down. Isaiah Thomas probably should be considered. He's not my top 10 either, to be honest with you. But he should be right there on the outside as well. What he's done for the NBA. But to me, that's it. I think everybody else is where they should be, you know, for the most part. Alright, so let's stop bull crapping. Let's get to the list. Alright, my top 5, the top 5 guys, I'm not going to go into extensive explaining of, because like I said, I already did my top 5 before. So go back to one of my old blogs, or one of my old Adapt shorts on YouTube. So you already know what my top 5 is, but I'm gonna just remind everybody again. So I'm gonna actually go from 1 to 10. Usually I go from 10 to 1, but I'm gonna go from 1 to 10 because the 6 through 10 is the reveal. So, all right, number 1, Michael Jordan. LeBron, like I said, I think LeBron is closer to him than some people give him credit for. Some people have LeBron number 1. Like mostly people in the younger generation, which I understand. You know, you probably never seen Michael Jordan play, but I did, and he was just Jordan. Like, I mean, like he's known for the younger generation for his shoes and everything else, but he was a hell of a basketball player. He just always willed the Bulls to win, even when it looked like, you know, they was overmatched, or not say overmatched, but like, you know, it was a chance they could lose. Crunch time, he always came through with the biggest shot or the biggest defensive play. He just wanted it more, and just was a talent, like best mid-range shooter I ever seen. Like mid-range, he could hit it. But I think like the debate now that the 3-point shot is more relevant now. Could he have done it? I think he would have perfected it. I think he would have become a decent 3-point shooter, but I still think he would have used his mid-range game a lot. But to me, I think LeBron is starting to have an argument just for the longevity, the talent. He got 4 championships, but I think Michael stands above everyone, and I don't think, I mean, you can try to debate it, but you really can't. Michael Jordan's number 1. Speaking of LeBron, he's number 2. Played for the Cavs, Heat, and the Lakers. Of course, Jordan played for the Bulls, and then later in his career, the Wizards. And that's what some people argue it is. You got to use those Wizard years against them, which that's fair. I mean, that's fair. You know, that's still the NBA. That's fair. But that Wizards team, now that shout out to Kwame Brown. Listen to Kwame Brown talk sometime, but his insight on how messy that Wizards team was. He still had a decent, you know, I think he still averaged 19 points in those Wizards years, but yeah, it was a mess there according to what Kwame, from Kwame's point of view. But Jordan, you know, he tried to be Jordan, but you know, he was past his prime. He retired 2 years, sat for 2 years, and tried to come back. But to stay on topic, we're talking about LeBron now. He's number 2 on my list. Cleveland, Miami, LA Lakers. LeBron, like I said, talent-wise, he was straight out of high school. I had I would say lower expectations, but I was like, he'd be a decent player, but he ain't gonna come into this league and do what he did. And the first game he had, stepped on that floor against the Kings, I actually saw that game. I was like, wow, you know. And he didn't have a jump shot. He developed a jump shot later in his career. He was athletic. just think of the first stint in Cleveland, those Cleveland teams. It was, I mean, just let's be honest, it was really very little to no talent on the team, or we just had a bunch of shooters, but that's all LeBron needed. The Rudy Zelgauskas was always hurt because I thought, well, he could help, in the inside. Ricky Davis was a decent player, but he was just a little goofy. But that first Cleveland run, and them to make it to the finals, they got swept, and people hold that against them. But I was like, well, that's an accomplishment for itself. And then going to the finals 10 straight years, it's an accomplishment. Like, even though he lost 6 of them, the Dallas one is probably the one that really sticks out in a negative way. Miami, I think they should have won at least 3, but the Spurs was the Spurs, and that's why Kawhi pretty much just elevated Kawhi. But LeBron's number 2. I think he has a good case against Mike, just for the longevity of what he's doing. But I think I will still take Mike over him. All right, I said I wasn't going to spend too much time explaining. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar is number 3 on my list. Milwaukee and the LA Lakers. I think he's starting to fade because I think the younger generation is starting to forget about him. But Kareem Abdul-Jabbar was the greatest before Mike made his leap. I think it was no question he was the greatest player. Pretty much dominated basketball, even in college. He was a dominant player. I never seen him play, by the way. I was too young, but I read a lot of NBA history. He was the man. Everywhere he went, he won. He won 1 in Milwaukee, 1 5 with the Lakers, so he got 6 titles, I think, as well. I believe. Yeah. So, it's. I think he'll get a lot of credit. I think he's starting to fade a little bit. That's my problem with that. But he's number 3 clearly to me. Now this is when we start, getting to the nitty gritty, because I think my top 3 to me out, there's no question. I don't second guess it. They're my top 3: Michael, LeBron, and Kareem. It's no debate to me. That's the top 3. Now after we get this far, well, to me, really, matter of fact, I'm gonna say Magic. Magic's my 4th guy, Magic Johnson. I think that's no question either. I think Magic, what he done in that era, how he put the NBA on the map, winning 5 titles. He's definitely the best point guard ever, with no question. So I wouldn't second guess my Magic Johnson, not at number 4 either. Number 5, Kobe Bryant. Kobe to me. Now this is when you probably start, people say, well, no, he shouldn't be that high. I see some lists where he was at the lower 10, lower part of the 10 list, or even not in the top 10. Because I think they hold against Kobe his early career when he won the 3 with Shaq. I think they pretty much saying Shaq was probably the better player. But like I said, the Indiana championship, the first one they won, Kobe was a huge impact. Shaq found out that game was a game 4 in Indiana. I remember it like it was yesterday. I was talking to my father. He was doing a graveyard shift at work. He called me. I think it was a Friday night or something like that. And he was like, I was explaining, I pretty much started calling the game because Shaq found out Kobe took that game over. So he had a big impact in that series. The Philadelphia series, to me, he was okay in that series as well. But Shaq was Shaq. Shaq dominated. Shaq went off 3 Finals MVPs. The New Jersey series, Shaq definitely dominated that series. But Kobe had a monster series in that series as well. But the other 2 were Paul Gasol. Of course, it was clearly, but Kobe to me was the closest to Michael Jordan. His will to win. He had his moments. Well, I'm not talking about off the court because I don't care about that. But like that time, I think it was in a playoff game, he refused to shoot the ball. So Kobe had his moments, but Kobe to me, just the will to win. I think that's what elevated him over like the McGrady, even though McGrady was hurt. Like people could try to compare him to other players. Now I think he only won 1 MVP, so I think that's sort of what people hold to get. But to me, like watching him, I just thought he was, he deserves to be this high. So he's number 5 for me. So that's my top 5. People already do that. Now we're about to get to the bottom part, the bottom, the 6 through 10. Number 6 for me gotta be Larry Bird. Just like I said about Magic Johnson, with Larry Bird, impact he had on the league in the 80s, going against Magic. Celtics was pretty much dominated the East. Now he had a team around him. I think that's why some people be trying to discredit Bird, because he had all the Hall of Famers, Paris, McHale, and Kevin McHale, and Robert Paris. McHale should probably, I ain't gonna say top 10, but he is an underrated player that don't get talked about as much anymore. Yeah, he had a deep squad, and then they only won 3 titles during that time. So I get it, but Larry was definitely the catalyst, and he was a great player. Those Celtics teams was something else in the 80s. His impact on the game, like I said, it's not just about the talent, it's about your accolades, the impact he had on the game. I had to put Larry Bird number 6 on my list. Number 7, Tim Duncan. Tim Duncan, clearly the best power forward ever. He played center too, but basically the best power forward ever. Probably the most quiet guy, probably out of even all these players. Tim just did his job, man. That Spurs culture, the knock on Tim, or the knock on the Spurs, period, is they never went back to back, which I wish they would have did at least once, because I think that's why Tim Duncan don't get a lot of credit. Played with David Robinson earlier in his career, but really after that, I like Manu Ginobili, Tony Parker, that second wave of the Spurs, because the first wave, the first little part was Avery Johnson, Sean Elliott, those veterans. But it was David and Tim, like the Twin Towers, when they won the one in 99. Then the 2003 title, that was after the Lakers 3-peat. They won. They beat the Spurs. New Jersey Nets was now the Brooklyn Nets. That series was 6 games, but Tim Duncan was a monster in there, and David Robinson was sort of, basically done. I think he retired right after that. I think he retired after that championship. So Tim became the Spurs number 1 player. Sort of, the Spurs get compared to the Patriots, their culture. Greg Popovich, with that, no one man above the team. He was able to yell at Tim in front of the team. Tim took it, and that made everybody else play harder. Tony Parker came. He was huge doing it, especially in the New Jerseys. That's when he people started to know who Tony Parker was, because he sort of, I ain't gonna lie, I love Jason Kidd, and that's somebody else that should get more consideration. Another great player that I like, but he destroyed Jason Kidd, like far as taking him to the hole. He was just faster than Jason Kidd, just couldn't stay in front of him. And Tony Parker dominated him in that series. Tim Duncan, like I said, just consistent. He made big plays. He had big shots in the playoffs. Like I said, the knock on the whole Spurs, the whole Spurs era is not going back to back, but 5 titles. Especially to me, he impressed me more older in his career when he beat the Heat. After they lost to him, that was impressive. Tim Duncan is number 7 on my list. Don't get enough credit. Number 8, sort of just have to put him in there. You can't tell the story of the NBA without this person, Bill Russell, without this player. The titles, now I ain't gonna lie, those titles, I'm not saying they don't mean anything. He got 11 titles. I think 9 of them as a player, something like that. But to me, the Boston Celtics, they was basically the only team in the NBA. He had a good team around him, but Bill Russell was definitely the anchor. What I read, of course, I never seen him play. This is going back to the 50s and 60s, I believe, late 50s, and all the 60s. They pretty much dominated, the NBA. But like I said, his impact on the NBA. He's still pushing it. He's still making appearances. He's funny. I like Bill Russell when he comes on camera, but his impact on the NBA can't be overlooked. He was the NBA at one point. Then going through everything he had to go through, as well being a black man in that era. So this is more about to me, for me, more about you can't leave him off this list. Now, other players in the future might, maybe have a case, but it's gonna be hard to ever get Bill Russell off this list because of what he's had, his impact on the game, and like his impact on the NBA. Period. So he's number 8 for me. He was great defensively, probably one of the most defensive players ever. So he's on there. Number 9, Wilt Chamberlain. Now that's when we start getting controversial. But the same thing, you can't tell the story without Wilt Chamberlain. Like, the whole NBA record books was scoring as Wilt Chamberlain. 100 points in the game. Forgot to shout out Kobe's 81 points. That's the closest anybody ever got to that. 100 points. I know the NBA was watered down. Pretty much it was only Bill Russell and Wilt Chamberlain back then. But he's number 9. You can't tell the story without him. You gotta bring him up. When you bring up big men, he always get brought up. He averaged 50 points a game in one season one time. I mentioned the 100-point game. But his knock on him, we talk about accolades. He don't have a lot. I think he has 2 titles. I probably should have made sure of that. I know he won one with the Lakers. But he didn't win, but he always ran into Bill Russell most of the time, and that's why he didn't win. So that's where Bill Russell got most of his titles from. But they was like, the rivalry back then and during that era, the 50s, late 50s, early 60s, well, all the 60s really. So you had to put him on this list. So he's number 9. Now, number 10 was hard for me. Like I said, I wanted to put Hakeem Olajuwon here, but I had to put this center instead because of the accolades, because of what he did for the NBA as well. Shaquille O'Neal, he's number 10. Now, I get into argument, well, I don't want to call it an argument, a disagreement. One of my residents, sometimes we talk sports, and he was saying Shaq he just used his power. He wasn't skilled. He wasn't as skilled as other big. Now, it was other, like Hakeem. That's why Hakeem is a perfect example. Like, he wasn't as skilled as Hakeem, like footwork and stuff like that. But Shaq was just a freak of nature, like, with power and speed. And he was skilled. He rebounded the basketball. He was a dominant player. Now, at the tail end of his career, he started getting out of shape and stuff like that. Like, I got to listen to teams he played for. Orlando, like the Orlando Shaq, he was young, sort of naive, but he was still dominant. They got to that finals against Hakeem. Hakeem beat him 1-on-1, swept him. Actually swept the Magic. I was surprised they swept him. I knew Houston would beat him. Well, I ain't gonna say I knew. I thought Houston would beat him, but I didn't think they would sweep. I thought it would be a long, drawn out 7-game series, honestly. Like, because that Orlando team, which was overlooked because they didn't win. Penny Hardaway, another guy, if he'd have stayed healthy, who knows what impact he would have had, as far as winning on the game. They had Horace Grant, which was on that first three-peat Bulls team. Nick Anderson, 3D Scott. So they starters was great. That team, Shaq, he was Shaq. Go back and look at that team, and say, wow, we was a good team, but they didn't win. And then the Lakers Shaq, that was the prime Shaq. That was the Shaq attack. I used to call him Shaq attack. Like, every time he dunked the basketball, that was the dominant Shaq that the Lakers said. Miami Shaq, little season, you told he lost a little bit. D Wade helped him there. And then after that, Phoenix, Cleveland, and Boston, he was done. Like, but I just wrote these on here, because he stopped moving around. Actually, he was in Cleveland with LeBron, but he didn't have a big impact at all when he was there. And the Boston Shaq, I think he was on the team with the Garnett and all those guys. But Shaq was pretty much a shell of himself by then. So some people, say, well, like I said, like personally, like I said, I like Hakeem Olajuwon. I would put him in there, but Shaq, 4 championships, how dominant he was. Like I said, Hakeem, as great as he was, he only got 2 championships. To me, that's the difference. If Hakeem would have had 4 titles too, I would have hesitated. I'd have put Hakeem over Shaq. Just for personal reasons, because I like Hakeem. But I love Shaq too. Shaq, I like him off the court. Even today, like he was somebody I would want to meet, like, and talk to. 'Cause I really think he's a genuine guy, despite him being a quote unquote, if you were to say celebrity or whatever. But Shaq is, I think Shaq really, I think that's the real Shaq. I don't think he's faking. I think he's a big-hearted guy. That's somebody I definitely would have sit and have a dinner with, have a drink with, or just to hang out with for a while. So shout out to Shaquille O'Neal. He's number 10. So that's my top 10. It was hard. That for the last, really 10. Then the top 9 to me. Like I said, Kobe. Some people, just try to Kobe. Think he should be lower or not even on the list. Like I said, Tim Duncan, I don't want to say it's controversial, but some people just, because Tim Duncan just did his job, so it's like he's not flashy. Everybody wants some flash. But like I said, my top 3: Mike, LeBron, Kareem. Man, I don't second guess that, and Magic, them 4 in fact, because I don't second question Magic either. Kobe, you could probably flip him for Larry or Tim, especially him and Tim played in the same era. They both got 5 titles. Larry Bird, like I said, if he didn't want more titles, I probably would have put him higher, but he's that high for me just because of the impact he had on the game. Like I said, Bill Russell, Wilt Chamberlain, you can't tell the story about the NBA without those 2 guys. You just can't. So until somebody really elevate themselves. And Shaq, like I said, you don't know the 10 for now, but Steph, like I said, if he keeps winning, if he get the 5 or 6 titles, I think he'll deserve to get in there. Cause he's gonna be the all-time leader in 3-point shooting, which he already is. Then you're gonna have 5 titles. It's gonna be, like I said, it's hard. You really much, you start to split hairs here. But that's my top 10. I feel confident with that. I'm gonna post it on Instagram later on, so look out for that. But that's my top 10. Alright, let's get into the NFL Roundabout Series, because I know I'm already probably closely running out of time here. So we're going to get to that real quick. We'll talk about the NFC North today. So that's the Bears, Lions, Packers, and Vikings. Let's pull that up. Yeah, it was fun though to go through that list. It was tough though at the same time. I wanted to put Kareem to me would be the number 1 guy I would put in there. And maybe Steph second. Alright, let's see. Okay, NFL. Alright, so we're going to talk about the Bears first because we go in alphabetical order. So this is not, this is not a prediction yet. We'll do that in about a month or so from now, when the NFL season starts. Okay, I'll try to pull up the Bears schedule. Here we go. Okay. Alright, so let's run through their schedule real quick. Week 1, they start off with the San Francisco 49ers. That's going to be an interesting game. Will it be Trey Lance against Justin Fields? I think the NFL probably thinks so. That's probably why they try to schedule that game probably week 1. Then at Green Bay, Sunday night game, week 2. Houston come to Chicago, face the Bears. Then the Bears go to New Jersey, face the Giants. At Minnesota. Then Thursday night game against the Washington Commanders. Then a Monday night game against the New England Patriots. Then they go to Dallas, play the Cowboys. Then they get Miami, play the Bears. Then Detroit come to Chicago. Then they go to Atlanta. Then at New York Jets, come home for the Packers. Then the Eagles, back-to-back weeks. Then they get Buffalo at home. Then they go to Detroit on New Year's Day. And then host Minnesota to end the season. Now the Bears have questions, but I think it's good to just now give Justin Fields the reins, so he's going to be the clear starter this year, so that's a good step. Can David Montgomery have a bounce back year on the offensive end? That's going to be a question as far as the offense. Defensively, Um, had some flashes. They had some flashes last year. The Bears are a sleeper for some people. I watched something on it was on the NFL channel. He was a Bears fan, so this kind of, he admitted it was a little biased, but I kind of can see it happening. Like, if Justin Fields is going to be up to, if he takes a big step forward, that Bears defense come to play, they could be a wild card too. They could compete for a wild card. The NFC is a little watered down a little bit to me. You got your clear teams in Tampa, like I mentioned this last week, Tampa, LA Rams. I think after those two teams, you got a lot of questions. Green Bay to me got questions, so they in their division. So Dallas, everybody's on Dallas, but the Cowboys, they're the Cowboys. They all, somehow they just, a lot of people try to elevate Philadelphia as well, but they not clear cut, So that Bears defense play like they did last year, they was decent. If Justin Fields make that, because that's pretty much, if he makes that big step forward, he's a decent quarterback, Bears could be a playoff team. I'm not going to say they wouldn't be, but that's probably the biggest question going into next year. You got, the Lions going to be feisty. The Vikings have talent, but if Justin Fields make that step and that defense come to play, Bears I could see them in the playoffs. All right, let's talk about Detroit now. I should have stayed there, so I know it's a Detroit game. Okay, pull up their schedule. Now the Lions, before we get to their schedule, they honestly, for me, I just don't like Jared Goff. I think Jared Goff needs pretty much everything around him to succeed. I don't think he can elevate a team, and I think that's what's always going to be the Lions' ceiling. So they might play better this year. I like the coach. Dang, I wish I could remember his name. But I like what they doing there. I think they going in the right direction. All right, I got their schedule up now. Lions, they get the Eagles first, week 1. Then they host Washington, so they're home for the first 2 weeks. Then they go to Minnesota, face the Vikings. Then Seattle, that's going to be an interesting team. We'll talk about them when it's time, but they could have Baker. We'll see. Seattle comes to Detroit. Then they go to New England, face the Patriots. Then they go to Dallas, play the Cowboys. Come back home for the Dolphins and the Packers back-to-back. Then at Chicago, at the New York Giants. Buffalo comes to Detroit. That's the Thanksgiving game early. They always get the early game. Jacksonville comes to Detroit. Then Minnesota comes there. Then 2 straight in a row at New York Jets and at Carolina. And then Chicago comes to Detroit. And then they go to Green Bay for the final game of the season. Like I said, my problem with the Lions is, can Jared Goff, can he take a step forward? To me, it looked like he needed Sean McVay. I don't know if he's the type of quarterback that can elevate your team. So, but the fight in the Bears, the Lions, even last year, like watching the Friday games, watching the Thanksgiving game, like they fight. They fight. So I like the coach there. I think he was the right decision for now. They got to just be patient with him, give him a few years. We'll see if they improve defensively as well. They gave up some big plays on the defensive side sometimes. But the Lions, to me, I think they have a ceiling. I think they'd be a decent team, maybe 5 wins, 6 wins, but that's all I see from them next year. All right, let's talk about Green Bay Packers. They lost a lot of people in the offseason. Aaron Rodgers almost left, but they gave him his money. So let's look at their schedule real quick. I still think they're going to win this division. Even though I've said I'm not giving no official predictions, but I still think they'll win this division. Let's go to their schedule real quick. I know I'm probably running out of time. At Minnesota, Gets the Bears at home. That's Sunday night. Big game against Tampa the next week. Then he hosts New England. Then London game, Giants at the Packers. It was a London game though. Come back home for the Jets. On the road against the Washington Commanders. Go to Buffalo, Sunday night game. That should be an interesting game. At the end of October. Packers at Lions. Then they host Dallas. Then they get to the sea. That's a Thursday night game. Then a Sunday night game at Philadelphia. Then at Chicago the next week. The Monday night game against the Rams. Then at Miami. They've come back home for the last 2 weeks for the Vikings and the Lions. Like I said, we're going to see what Aaron Rodgers made of. I think this is a make or break it year for him. Like, for us, I think he's going to have a lot of pressure on him this year to win. No Devontae Adams, he's gone. They traded him away. I want to look at the receiving core. Still got Arron Judge. I think he is a viable running back. So we'll see what he does. AJ Dillon was huge for them as well. But Randall Cobb, probably the only name you really know on this list. Alan Lazard was huge for them at times, but they did sign Sammy Watkins. I see him here. I did forget about Sam Mercedes Lewis. Let's see at tight end. So we'll see if Aaron Rodgers can elevate them. But I think the Devontae Adams is going to be missed. That's just my opinion. So we'll see what the Packers do on offense. But it's going to be all up to Aaron Rodgers, though. Defensively, you know, they we'll see how they improve that. You know, because it always, like, defenses really get overlooked. But if you got a good defense nowadays in this league, you clearly got an advantage. But I still see the Packers winning this division. I just think the other teams are too young, like the Bears, like I brought up, the Lions to be just Jared Goff. I just don't believe in Jared Goff. And we about to talk about the Vikings, who have somebody with a ceiling, probably a higher ceiling than Jared Goff, but a ceiling nonetheless. So let's talk about the Minnesota Vikings. Let's go ahead and transition to the Vikings. Let's pull up their schedule real quick. I think they gave Kirk Cousins another year. I thought that was a mistake. I thought they should have drafted a quarterback and see what they could get, you know, see what they could do here. But let's run through their schedule real quick. So like I said, I think I'm running out of time. Green Bay to open the season. I already said that at home. Then they go to Philadelphia. That's a Monday night game. The second week, part of a doubleheader, by the way, Monday night. Lions come to town, to Minnesota. Then they go to New Orleans. That's London game. I'm sorry, 9:30 a.m. That's London. So it's a London game. Then come home for the Bears. Then at Miami. Host Arizona. At Washington. Then they go to Buffalo. That's gonna be a tough game. Well, a lot of these games are tough. Dallas comes to Minnesota. Then Sunday night game against New England. Then the Jets come to Minnesota. Then they face the Lions again on the road this time. Then Indianapolis at home. New York Giants at home. Then they only road the last 2 weeks against division opponents, Packers and the Bears, back to back. So Minnesota, same thing. Sort of look, Jared Goff is just a higher ceiling. Kirk Cousins, and the talent they have. Let's look at their roster. By the way, I threw my phone down like I was done, but the receiving core is with Justin Jefferson, Allen Dealer. He got hurt, I think, near the end of the season. Jared Cook in the backfield. So you got pieces there, but Cousins is the common denominator that can never somehow get him over the top. And he had a good year last year, like far as stat wise, like he had a good season, but he just makes bad plays at the wrong time, and it winds up costing the Vikings. Now, like I said, their defense also took a step back. I think that was a problem. So can they get that defense back together? But like I said, just like the Bears, you can see them competing for a wild card spot just because of the talent. the Cook, any running back, you gotta say if they're gonna stay healthy. Can Dalvin Cook stay healthy? If he can, he gotta be a focal point. Take the ball out of Kirk Cousins just a little bit more, but definitely use the receiver, because Justin Jefferson is something else, and so is Adam Thielen. They're improving it. But I think Jared Cook should be the center of their offense. So offensively, they're a decent team. It's that defense, if they slip a little bit, that would sort of hurt the Vikings. So, alright, so that's it for that, for the Roundabout series. So next week we'll talk about the AFC North, the Ravens, Browns, Bengals, and the Pittsburgh Steelers. So join me next week for that. Speaking of that, let me give my condolences real quick. Me being a Ravens fan, I know you probably heard about, we lost 2 Ravens. We lost a legend and we lost a current Raven player. So let me go to the Ravens page, because I just want to make sure I pronounce this young man's name right. But it's a tragedy. Both of them sudden deaths as well. Of course, Tony Saragusa, a Ravens legend, probably is a little bit too strong a word, but he had a big impact here in Baltimore, especially on that 2000 Ravens team. So he would be missed. He still was around in the community sometimes. He worked for Fox Sports. Definitely been bringing him up, getting him moments of side, bringing it up because he was a colleague. Like I said, I listened to Fox FS1, Undisputed with Shannon Sharp. Shannon Sharp was pretty much telling stories about him. They about to do a documentary on the 2000 Ravens. So that's something I definitely want to see. So he's going to be missed. He was a huge part of that defensive line. If you remember that AFC Championship game in 2000, well 2001, but 2000 Ravens. They went against the Oakland Raiders. Rich Gannon, the MVP quarterback. Goose, not saying he did it on purpose, but he sacked him. He made him fumble the ball and hurt him. So he was out the rest of the game. And that's pretty much, we knew the game was over. And if he was a Ravens fan, that was one of the plays I remember that he had. The young man, Jaylen Ferguson, I always get his last name right. He died at a young age, 26 years old. He was a linebacker. Played a little bit last year, but he was supposed to get a bigger role this year. They said he looked good in the little OTAs they had a few weeks ago. He's actually lived here. I think he's from here as well. But he actually was here in Baltimore. They went to his house. He was unresponsive. They couldn't bring him back, so he didn't make it. Tony Saragusa, unfortunately, he died in his sleep. So and it was late at night too. It was 9. They tried to revive him. It was 11 o'clock at night, but he was living here in Baltimore. But I think he was from here as well, which I've been told. So Ravens fans and the Ravens organization, I know they hurting. It's gonna be a long season. I know they're gonna honor these 2 guys. I think Goose, Tony Saragusa, I think he's in the Ring of Honor. I'm not sure. I have to check that as well. But I just want to give out my condolences, me being a Ravens fan as well. Hopefully maybe they'll push us this year. I like teams sometimes that have like these things, because it motivates them on the field. So maybe this would be somewhat of a, not saying that they deaths don't mean anything and it's not just about football, but just that honor, going out there every week and keep you focused. So we'll see if the Ravens can take advantage of that and make a real good run this year. But we'll talk about the Ravens next week. So we'll talk about those 2 guys more next week, because we probably know more details. But I'm gonna go ahead and try to wrap this video up, because I know I'm pressed on time. I only get an hour. Final thoughts, first of all, sports final thoughts. Stanley Cup, the Lightning stayed alive, so it's 3-2 Colorado Avalanche against the Tampa Bay Lightning. Even if you're not a hockey fan, just check it out. Playoff hockey is always a lot better than regular season hockey. We've seen them fighting all the time and all that nonsense. So if you're a hockey fan, check that out. I don't talk much about hockey. USFL semifinals today. So check that out as well. Should be at Canton, Ohio. So that's another sports thing to check out. Next week on the blog, like I said, we had more baseball talk. NBA, I'll come up with some type of topic to talk about, because I think free agents don't start till the week after. So we'll talk some NBA next week still, and our roundabout series, like I said, to be the AFC North next week. As far as the channel, Sonic Origins been blowing up. I appreciate you guys. I got 2 videos with over 200 views, so thank you so much. I knew that project would do good. I'll probably do a couple of videos today. Also Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Shredder's Revenge as well. Both of those projects been going pretty well, so thank you. Shout out to Helping Hearts 88. Go check her channel out. She's been a supportive person in the channel and for me, so I just want to say I appreciate her, and all my subscribers, all my friends. Appreciate you all. Like I said, it'd be so much going on behind the scenes. I have a rough week. Don't sleep well. There's a lot on my mind, a lot going on around me, working, all types of stuff. But this is, like I said, this is an outlet to get me off my mind, off of negative days. So this is why I do my channel. Even though I was frustrated with the channel as well, I feel like I should get more support. But at the end of the day, you know, you just gotta keep going. So that's what I'm gonna do. I don't take days personal. I had somebody this week, like I said, I got a few subscribers this week, but I had one. This is the trick that some people do, and I never do this. If I really support you, I really support you. And now, honestly, I don't feel bad, honestly, but basically they tried to, I think they subscribe and then unsubscribe, because they thinking, alright, well, you go subscribe to my channel, and they think you don't see. Now you gotta turn, like, only way you don't notice exactly who does it, but I guess that's what that took away from the plan, because if you set your subscribers on private, when you subscribe to somebody's channel, the person ain't gonna know. They'll see that their channel grew, but they ain't gonna know specifically. Now you can see on YouTube Studio, you can go check out, you can see it's a list of your subscribers. But like I said, I got a little bit of subscribers, so when I get any type of change, I see it. Even if you're on private, but this person wasn't. I think they subscribed to the channel. Maybe it's a mistake, so maybe I'm overreacting, but this has happened so many times before. People want you to support them, but they ain't gonna support you, you know. Or if you're in the same lane as them, and that's the YouTuber. And anybody that is a YouTuber understand this. Like, if you're in the same lane with somebody, that person, if they're doing sort of the same things as you, they're not gonna. They're the usually ones that don't support you. Like, they act like they do, but soon as they think you elevating above them, or if you know, even if you're lower than them, because like I said, I'm the lowest of the low. I'm pretty much a speck on the wheel. Right now, I have under 100 subscribers, and I got a goal. I want to reach 100 before my birthday, which is October 6th. This year, hopefully, I'm at 100. You know, and then I set another goal. But it's wild out here. It's so cutthroat, man. That's just life, period. Especially on YouTube, because there's so many people. There's so many YouTubers, man. So many. But you know, you just gotta wait for your break. Everybody gets a break. Maybe I get one. Because I kind of want it to happen slow. I don't want it to be an overnight thing anyway, because I would be able to handle it, because I don't have the time to do certain days. Like, people start requesting days like Good Vibes, for example, and thank you Good Vibes for being on the channel, you know, for supporting the channel. But I can't do it exactly when I want to do it, because I'm doing it around work, so it's kind of difficult. But, you know, I just don't like that, you know, so I called it out. But I ain't gonna lie, I unsubscribed for that person, so I don't even remember their name now. So, like, no, I'm tired of doing that. Like, there's been times I'm still gonna support the person, at least subscribe to them and watch their videos every time. And then I think this person just trying to get, because this person even got lower subscribers than me, so maybe I understand it, but you gotta do it another way, bro. Like, that's just my opinion, man. Like, don't do it like that. Like, have some honor. If you're gonna really support the person, support her. That's why the people that I shout out, I support them. I watch their videos. You know, I give them love. It's not fake here. So I'm never going to do that regardless. Like I said, if I stay in this with 70, I think if I had 77, I stayed with 77 subscribers for another couple of years, that's fine. Like, that's fine. I'm not going to stress about it. You know, it's frustrating because, like I said, I know people around me that don't support, people that I know in real life that don't support me, and that bothers me a little bit, but it is what it is. So I just wanted to rant and get that out there. But I gotta go because I know, like I said, I'm stuck on time, and I don't want to have to really chop this video up too bad. I'm Troy West. Thank you guys so much for joining me. I love you guys. Thank you for supporting the channel. I'll talk to you guys next week. More Sonic Origins, more Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Call of Duty videos, all types of stuff. So check me out. I got a lot of content, enough to keep you occupied. So just go check it out. I'm Troy West. Shout out to everybody. I love you guys. Peace and love. Talk to you next time.